It started with a quiet Tuesday morning and the sudden, jarring arrival of an ambulance across the street. We lost a neighbor that day, unexpectedly, tragically, and far too soon. In the days that followed, amidst the personal grief, a secondary, silent crisis began to unfold. He was a key stakeholder in his small business, the keeper of the keys, the one person who knew how things worked. Watching his partners struggle to untangle the digital web he left behind, locked accounts, encrypted files, inaccessible banking portals, was a stark wake-up call. We spend millions on firewalls to keep hackers out. We invest in immutable backups to recover from ransomware, but we rarely plan for the silent kill switch, the sudden departure, incapacitation, or death of the one person holding the digital keys to the kingdom. For small and mid-sized businesses, SMBs, this isn't just a logistical headache. It is an existential threat. If your lead system administrator or CTO was hit by a bus or simply won the lottery and vanished today, would your business open tomorrow? This guide is your roadmap to operational resilience. We will move beyond the theory of business continuity and disaster recovery, BCDR, to provide actionable, battle-tested strategies for surviving the loss of your most critical asset, your people, and the bus factor, a metric of existential risk. In software engineering, there is a grim but necessary metric known as the bus factor. It calculates the minimum number of team members who, if they disappeared suddenly, e.g., were hit by a bus, would cause a project or business to collapse. For most SMBs, the bus factor is 1. We see this constantly. The hero IT director who built the network from scratch, keeps the server passwords in his head, and fixes the email server on weekends. He is indispensable. He is also a single point of failure, SPOF. The statistics of fragility. The modern SMB threat landscape is hostile. In 2024 alone, encrypted cyber threats surged by 92%, and supply chain attacks affecting customers rose by 33%. Navigating this requires agility and deep knowledge. When that knowledge is siloed in one brain, you are gambling your company's survival on that person's health and loyalty. Research into 133 popular GitHub projects showed that 65% had a bus factor of less than or equal to 2. In the corporate world, this manifests as knowledge hoarding, sometimes driven by a desire for job security, but often just a byproduct of being too busy to document. The reality check. Bus factor 1, critical. If your sysadmin leaves, you are locked out. You cannot reset passwords, access backups, or pay vendors. Bus factor 2-3 high, operations might limp along, but the remaining staff will face burnout and innovation will halt. Bus factor 4+, resilient. You have true redundancy. 2, ghost in the machine, case studies in failure. To understand the stakes, we have to look at what happens when the human element fails without a safety net. The 190 million cautionary tale, Quadriga CX. The collapse of Canadian cryptocurrency exchange Quadriga CX is the ultimate parable of key person risk. In 2018, CEO Gerald Cotton died unexpectedly in India due to complications from Crohn's disease. Cotton was the only person who knew the passwords to the cold wallets, offline storage, that held the customer's funds. He had no succession plan, no dead man's switch, and no shared custody of the keys. The result? $190 million in user funds was lost forever. The company went bankrupt not because of a hack, but because of a password. The SMB lesson. If your backup drives are encrypted with BitLocker and the only person with the recovery key is gone, your data isn't secure. It's shredded. The rogue admin, City of San Francisco versus Terry Childs. Not all departures are tragic. Some are malicious. Terry Childs was a network administrator for the City of San Francisco who built a highly efficient fiber WAN network. He was also a knowledge hoarder who refused to share passwords. When management attempted to discipline him, he locked the city out of its own network. He sat in a jail cell for days, refusing to divulge the credentials while the city's infrastructure was held hostage. He was eventually convicted, but the operational damage was immense. The SMB lesson: you cannot rely on trust. You need break glass protocols that allow the business owners to regain control even if the administrator is hostile. 3. The MFA Lockout, a modern nightmare. In 2025, the most common continuity crisis isn't a lost password, it's a lost second factor. We all use multi-factor authentication, MFA, to secure our accounts. Typically, this involves an app, Microsoft Authenticator, Google Authenticator, on a personal smartphone. The scenario: your IT manager, Sarah, uses her personal iPhone for the company's global admin MFA. She passes away suddenly. Her family, dealing with their grief, locks her phone or resets it. The result: you have the password to your Microsoft 365 tenant, but you can't log in because the MFA prompt is buzzing on a phone you can't access. Microsoft and Google have rigorous privacy protocols. They will not simply unlock an account because you say an employee died. You will face weeks of legal bureaucracy, proving domain ownership and providing death certificates, while your business remains paralyzed. The fix: you need break glass accounts that bypass standard user MFA. More on this in Section 5. 4. The legal frontier: Rufata and digital wills. Before we get to the technical fixes, we must address the legal ones. If you try to access a deceased employee's email to keep the business running, are you committing a crime? Understanding Rufata. Most U.S. states have adopted the Revised Uniform Fiduciary Access to Digital Assets Act, RUFADA. This law creates a hierarchy for who can access digital assets, emails, files, social media, after death. 1. Tier 1, the online tool. If a platform like Google or Facebook has a legacy contact feature, that designation overrides everything else. 2. Tier 2, the will trust. If no online tool is used, the courts look to the person's will or corporate bylaws. 3. Tier 3, terms of service. If neither of the above exists, the terms of service apply. Most TOS agreements, like iCloud's, say access rights die with the user. Actionable strategy: update corporate bylaws. Explicitly state that all digital accounts, emails, and data created during employment are the property of the company and must be accessible to a successor. Separate business and personal. Strictly forbid the use of personal email addresses for business admin accounts. If an employee uses a personal Gmail for business and they die, Rufata may protect that account as private, locking you out of your own business data. 5. Technical resilience: building the dead man's switch. You need a technical safety net that activates when humans fail. Here is your implementation checklist. A. The break glass accounts. For your most critical systems, Microsoft 365, AWS, Google Workspace, you must have emergency access accounts. Create 2 accounts. Create 2 cloud-only admin accounts, e.g., admin emergency oneyearyourdomain.com. Do not sync these with your on-premise Active Directory. Exclude from standard MFA. Exclude these accounts from your standard conditional access policies that require a specific user's phone. Secure with hardware tokens. Instead of a phone app, secure these accounts with FIDO2 hardware keys, like YubiKeys. These are physical keys that you can lock in a safe. Physical storage: place the YubiKey and a card with the complex password in a fireproof safe at the office, and a second set in a bank safety deposit box accessible only by the CEO and legal counsel. Monitoring: set up an alert that immediately emails the entire executive team if these accounts are ever used. This prevents a Terry Childs scenario where an admin uses the emergency account secretly. B. Enterprise Password Manager with emergency access. Stop sharing passwords in Excel spreadsheets. Use an enterprise password manager, Keeper, Bitwarden, 1Password, LastPass, and configure the emergency access feature. How it works. The primary admin designates a successor, e.g. the CEO. The trigger. If the successor requests access, the system sends an email to the admin. The wait period. If the admin does not deny the request within a set time, e.g. 48 hours, the vault automatically opens for the successor. Why this works. It respects privacy while the employee is alive, but ensures continuity if they are incapacitated. C. The digital dead man's switch. For sole proprietors or critical secrets, encryption keys, crypto wallets, consider a dedicated dead man's switch service, like CipherWill. These services send an email to the owner periodically. If the owner fails to click "I'm alive" after several attempts, the system automatically decrypts and sends a preloaded digital will to designated beneficiaries. 6. The hit by a bus. Binder, survivable documentation. Documentation is the hard drive of your organization's memory. When the human brain is gone, the documentation must boot up. But standard wikis often fail because the password to the wiki was known only by the person who died. You need survivable documentation, also known as the emergency binder. The physical binder, the red book. Yes, in a digital age you need paper. Store this in a fireproof safe. Topology maps. What connects to what? ISP vendor contacts, account numbers, and support pins for your internet, VoIP, and cloud providers. Root credentials, obfuscated. Don't write the password in plain text. Write the location of the physical break glass key or use a QR code that links to the encrypted vault. Legal authority. Copies of the corporate resolution or RUFA-DE compliant authorization forms proving who has the right to access data. Digital runbooks. Documentation shouldn't be a novel, it should be a recipe. Use the runbook format. The Morning After Guide, a step-by-step guide for a non-technical person to keep the lights on for 24 hours. Payroll continuity, how to access the bank and cut checks. Restore from backup, a screenshot-heavy guide on how to spin up the disaster recovery site. The Chaos Monkey test, once a year, run a drill. Tell the lead admin they are dead for the day. Can the junior staff or the CEO restore a file using only the binder? If they have to call the admin, the test failed. 7. Human redundancy, the ultimate backup. Technology can only do so much. You need to engineer a culture where knowledge is shared, not hoarded. Cross-training and the T-shaped employee. Encourage employees to be T-shaped. Deep expertise in their main role, the vertical bar, but broad knowledge of others, the horizontal bar. Pair, admining. For critical infrastructure changes, firewall updates, server migrations, require 2 people to be present. 1 types, 1 watches, and documents. This forces knowledge transfer. Vacation resilience. Reframe cross-training not as "we are preparing to replace you," but as "we want you to be able to take a vacation without your phone ringing." If they are the only one who can do the job, they are never truly off. The MSP safety net. If you are too small to have 2 IT people, you must hire a managed service provider, MSP, for co-managed IT. The retainer. You don't need to outsource everything. You pay the MSP a retainer to hold a set of emergency admin credentials and maintain a copy of your network documentation. The standby agreement. If your internal admin vanishes, the MSP is contractually obligated to step in within 4 hours to keep the ship afloat. They are your external bus factor. Conclusion: stewardship beyond the individual. The loss of a neighbor, a colleague, or a friend is a heavy emotional blow. In business, our duty as leaders is to ensure that this tragedy does not become a catastrophe for the livelihood of everyone else. Succession planning is not about predicting death. It is about ensuring life. It is about building an organization that is anti-fragile. one that can absorb the shock of a loss and continue to function. Your action plan for this week. 1. Check your bus factor. Identify the one person whose loss would cripple you. 2. Set up break glass accounts. Buy 2 YubiKeys and create cloud-only admin accounts today. 3. Start the binder. Print out your cyber insurance policy, your ISP account numbers, and your domain registrar credentials. Put them in a safe. Don't wait for the ambulance to arrive across the street. The time to build your safety net is now while the skies are clear.